Ever have that one friend who loves something you know nothing about? Something you wish they could explain better? Well, this isn't that show. Welcome to Drunk Fandom, the show where we have a drunk host explain something they love to a sober guest who is clueless.
Drunk Fandom.
Drunk Fandom contains swears and other not safe for work content. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. The Fierce Ferrets do not condone excessive drinking, but if you do, please drink responsibly. Enjoy the show!
Hey everyone, it's that time again. We're here with Drunk Fandom. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Very excited. Sandwich is here with me as our drunk lore master, and I am your sober host, ready to guide you through this journey. Except I won't, because I don't know what I'm talking about. You okay, Sandwich?
I don't even think you're ready to guide me. Like, this is...
What are you drinking tonight, Sandwich? You're good. What are you drinking tonight? Talk to me.
Blue vodka lemonade.
Huh?
It's lemonade with blue curacao and vodka.
Sounds.
And it looks
Is it
like
actually
ramen
blue?
and ale.
Is it actually blue in color?
It's a color of blue that looks like it would be glow in the dark. Does that make sense?
I mean, that sounds amazing to me. Yes.
I'll take a picture and show it to you later. But
yes.
It's consistent results too. This isn't the first batch I've made, and every single one has come out this like fucking radtacular color.
So what I'm hearing is there's a secret sandwich recipe to this drink that we might have.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what do you love so much about Star Trek? Why are we here today?
Okay, so about almost 3 years ago, I've been working on trying to watch TV shows and movies that I was not watching when I was a child, either because I wasn't allowed to or because I was in college and didn't have access to cable television. And so I've been going through a lot of older shows for the first time as a well-established adult, which I think in your 30s is what you get to claim to be, right? Like, you're not just
At
an
the
adult.
very bare minimum, you should be able to claim that, yes.
Yes, okay, cool. So I was like, all right, I've heard a lot, I've seen the Star Wars movies. I've never seen a Star Trek anything. And honestly, to this day, I still haven't seen a Star Trek movie. But I started with the original series. I watched all of that. I watched The Next Generation, which is what we're going to talk about. Watched all of that. And I'm working my way right now through Deep Space Nine, which is where actually they have crossovers that start. And I've gotten to the point where I could start watching the next one, which I believe is Voyager. But I haven't started watching it because I'm like, I'm just going to finish Deep Space Nine. I'm going to watch the next one. I'm going to do this because it'll be too confusing if I try to watch multiple series at the same time. And so, oh, fuck, dude. What was your question?
No, this is great. I want to know what you love about Star Trek that brought you here today.
Yes. Okay. So as a
No, this is great. Please keep going.
As an adult, though, that's an important part because as an adult, I watched the original series where it was filmed back in the 60s and they had to make a sci-fi show and really got that appreciation for the creativity that they had shown in the original series and then continued on. Like, they built upon it. They had a bigger budget. It was newer. I think it started in 1987, so they obviously had way better technology than in the late 60s. But it was still that feeling of like, this is space. Thinking about it where we are now and then back to 1987, like the year I was born, where technology and where like CGI was at then, and just seeing what they do with it it's incredible. Like, they love the story so much that they make it come to life in an environment where honestly, I don't think it should have been able to be pulled off as well as it has. And that's what I love about Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That's great. Oh, I love it. I love the passion right now. That's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Actually, so what do you know about Star Trek before we even get started so I can gauge where we're at? Wait, let
I
me get
know
a piece of paper and a pen. I want to write this down.
No, it's fine. It's because it's you will not have a lot to write down. I know that Star Trek is not Star Wars.
Oh, that's a good.
And...
You know what? And like, I like them both. I don't get the animosity. Like, we're not going to talk about that at all because I don't get it. Like, why don't you love them both? They're great.
Listen, as someone who likes Marvel and DC, yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah,
like, I don't get it.
Like, God.
So I know it's not Star Wars, and I
Mhm.
especially know, most importantly, that it's Jean-Luc Picard, SSS Enterprise, Jean-Luc Picard of the USSS Enterprise, and that's it. Oh, you know what? I saw the new Star Trek movie they did a million years ago with the young Picard, I think, but I don't remember anything about that. I watched that at, I don't know, it was like 4 a.m. I don't remember anything about it.
You know what? You've seen more Star Trek movies than I have.
He likes alien chicks. Like, I don't know. That's it. That's what I know about Star Trek. I know the memes. I've seen memes of it, and I can identify by the... Oh, and red shirts always die. That's a thing, right?
Oh, yeah. But that's
joke?
in the original series, because shit, Picard wears a red shirt the whole time. So I was like, the first season, I was like, no way! What drama! The captain's just gonna die in some stupid firefight. Like, go left, Picard, and everyone else goes right, and then left is where the dude with the guns is. Like, you hear about the red shirt. That was one of the things I went into going into Star Trek, like, just doe-eyed. And I was like, red shirts die! And beam me up, Scotty! Okay, so...
I also know Beam Me Up, Scotty, and Khan! I know Khan. That's okay, that's it. I know Khan, Jean-Luc Picard. What? It's not Star Wars, in the memes.
I know that Wrath of Khan is a movie, but I don't know...
Oh, so this is not
Star Trek
so
it goes to.
the next generation's not about Khan, then, is what I mean.
I cannot tell you anything about that.
I'm doing finger guns right now, you can't see it.
Dude, I'm putting my hands up like, please shoot me, because I love finger guns.
Alright. Alright, so...
No, but I went in knowing that, so this is totally different than the original series, in that red shirts do not die. So...
Oh.
You in this one, that is wrong, because if so, Captain Picard would be super mega ultra...
Is Captain Picard in this one? I don't...
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Actually, it's interesting because Jean-Luc Picard is a French... he's like a French dude, right? And he's the captain of the USS Enterprise. But, okay, so like I told you, I watched the original series and I have watched some of Deep Space Nine. And both of those captains, Kirk and Sisko, are American. So as of right now...
I lied. That new movie's about Kirk. That's how
I still don't know. I still haven't seen it.
You said it and I'm like, oh right, it was Kirk, not Picard. That's... Alrighty then.
He's good, Captain Kirk. He is a good guy. I can't wait for you to learn about that.
Captain Kirk likes alien ladies. That's what I learned in that movie.
Captain Kirk loves alien ladies, and all of his shirts are made of toilet paper, which is a hot commodity now. But at that time,
so he's wearing. It's true. We had to trade whiskey for toilet paper. Saying with my father, like that was the trade we made because he needed it.
I mean, yeah, necessities for necessities, I guess.
All right, so Star Trek. Are you ready to guide me on this journey? Because you're actually the guide. You're our very drunk guide.
Yes. Let me take one more shot.
Take as much shots as you need.
What I need you to do while I'm taking this shot is close your beautiful eyes and just imagine like ethereal music and space, right?
Oh.
And you're just floating through space. And I'm going to take you through the intro, the beginning of the intro through the Next Generation. Because I love it so much. Like, I found myself in later, like the second to like maybe the third is when I started doing it. Just like, I would watch it before I went to bed. I would watch it when I woke up on the weekends. And like, it was my Saturday morning cartoons. And I would just be like whispering along with Jean-Luc Picard as he would say these lines. And this is him doing the introduction to Star Trek: The Next Generation. And I'm going to take a shot and then I'm going to tell you what their whole thing is about, because like this embodies everything that they're about. Like they just are so upfront. I love that. Like there aren't a ton of twists and turns in the show. It's just problems that are met with solutions. And I think that that's a beautiful...
And are my eyes still supposed to be closed for a space journey?
Yeah, you should totally keep them closed because I'm about to take the shot, and then I'll say the thing. But you're still just imagine you're floating through space.
I am. I can breathe though, right?
No, totally. You can breathe. You can hear. Cool. You're like in an escape pod, but like a comfortable escape pod, like a Polly Pocket escape pod.
Oh,
yes.
What? Yes.
Yeah. So like you have everything you need, but it's like way more like some TARDIS shit going on. You know about Doctor Who, right?
Yeah, but the kids are gonna have to Google what Polly Pocket is.
My sister had a Polly Pocket, and it was like
love Polly Pocket. Probably the only girly thing I liked as a kid.
Polly Pocket and Littlest Pet Shop were my girly things I liked as a kid. Like, couldn't get over those big ass eyes. All right, so you know Patrick Stewart's voice, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna sound.
I've heard him speak.
Like him
all right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, so you're floating through space, right? It's like a comet. And then you see Saturn, or a Saturn-esque planet, because there
are rings
all over the place.
Okay.
there are rings.
All right.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. This Star Trek, motherfucker! And then it just it just goes right into the music, and no one says anything about it because he's a knight, I'm pretty sure. So no one can say anything about what he says.
Wow. Chills.
Yeah.
Literal chills.
I'm glad, because I hope you're ready.
You nailed it. I'm ready. I'm invested. I'm at the edge of my seat.
Man. Okay, so we'll just go. Let me give you the timeline of the series, and then you'll understand what we're working with. So, like I said, it's the second in the series. It had 7 seasons and 178 episodes from September 1987 to May 23rd, 1994. And it happens like it's definitely after the original series. 80 years or something.
Well, it has a subtitle, so I feel like that's usually the indicator. It is in the line, not the head.
Oh, yeah. And it's, man, these aren't going to be helpful to me, so I'm probably just going to forget.
It's okay. Free ball it. It's fine. I believe.
You know what? I actually looked up the timeline because I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to sound smarter than I actually am, and I was surprised at how not long it was because I felt as though it was like 20 years, but it wasn't.
Well, it's apparently 87 to
94.
It was 7 years.
Yeah, but you know how like in TV sometimes time is like whatever they want.
Oh, well, I mean, especially if they do like 20 episodes in a season, like it feels like forever.
Oh, dude, yes, and there were like 27 episodes in a season. But regardless, so it happened during that time. So now I'm gonna get into like the good part about it.
I'm ready.
About the thing that really mattered, because like I said, I watched it in like, I don't know, a year or two ago, so whatever number that was, and it was still poignant. Like, there are so many episodes that touch topics.
It's fine. You know how there's, like, before Christ and after Christ? Now there's before quarantine and after quarantine. It's gonna be the 2 timeline breaks.
Yeah. Dude, that's wild, but you're right. Okay, so the people that are on the ship, there are more people than I'm going to tell you. These are the people that I care about.
I'm ready. I like the people you like, so that's basically this podcast.
You know what? I'm really glad that you actually used the word like, because I don't.
Oh, actually, unless anyone's named Tim, because he did it. I don't care what happened, he did it. He's a liar.
You know, or William is another person who might have done it, or I would blame Deanna, but she can't do anything, so it definitely couldn't have been her. There's a couple of people. And I would just like to let you know, I'm going to present you with a very biased opinion on this crew. And as I have expressed my opinion in the wild as an adult, have received conflicting opinions, which is fine. I totally respect that. But I just want to let you know it will be biased because there are a couple of characters that I do not like. And they are a couple of characters that a lot of people super duper like. And that's just, this is all you're going to know. So I just want to let you know.
Okay. I mean, Deanna sounds like a Karen already, so really,
you know,
is she a Karen?
She's not carrying anything. She's definitely being carried, if you know what I mean. Like, golly. We'll get to her, though. The first person is going to be Jean-Luc Picard. He's the person that said the intro. He is the captain of the USS Enterprise, and he has my full respect. He grew up in a vineyard, and then he's like, I don't want to make wine. I have a brother that can do that. I'm going to fly spaceships. And his family was like,
oh.
And then you know what he did?
No, what?
He fucking flew spaceships.
Oh,
like, so good.
Does he ever see
spaceships so good?
Does he ever see his brother again and be like, na?
I'm going to be really honest. I think there's one episode where they like flash back to when he was younger. They talk about his brother. I don't remember his brother. Other than that, like I don't.
Well, they clearly didn't do a very good job, and also, you know, he told him it never happened, like a douche.
Yeah, there was an episode where his dad saw him again, but it was like they never supported him, like never. And he was so good, like he was so good when he was in school. He was so good at the things that he was supposed to do, and then like the second he got out of school, he went to this I don't know if it was just a station or a planet, but he was like being super cocky to this group of dudes. And so they got in a fight, but he was a visitor on this planet and the other dudes were from there. So they obviously like knew what was up and he got in this fight and like a guy tricked him and he stabbed him. He stabbed him right through the back and he saw the blade come out of his chest. And then he had to get an artificial heart. And
wait, now is this happening to Picard?
Yeah, when he was a kid. As soon as he got out of the
he was a child?
Academy. I mean, he was probably like 19. He just got out of a space college and was about to be an ensign, which is the lowest level of person you can be on a ship and go to the bridge, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, so he has a mechanical heart?
Yes, he has a fake heart. And later on, like way later on in the series, you learn about the fake heart, and then later on, even further, he has a chance to go back and like replay that situation. But that is with a different character that is one of my favorites that I'm going to touch on very shortly.
I'm ready.
So what you need to know about Jean-Luc Picard is that he's awesome. And you should respect him because he's great. And he takes his tea Earl Grey hot, never iced. Never seen that guy order a sweet tea. Never a chamomile.
Do they have? Alright, so this is gonna sound like, you know how tea is usually a joke about being British? Is it also a French thing and we just didn't know?
Okay, so Jean-Luc Picard's whole name is French, but when he talks, it sounds like he should be drinking hot Earl Grey tea.
Oh, so like, he sounds like the tea
He's never like, mon chouchou, let me get your face up on the screen right there. He's like, this is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. Tea. Oh, great. Hot. Like, that's his... He is not French of the mouth. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Just of the name. And the living...
But you referred to him as a Frenchman, so I thought he was, like, complete French. But,
I mean, he is, because he was completely born in France, but he talks completely like he wasn't. And I honestly never really thought about it until we had talked about it. But while he has perfect pronunciation of French words and goes to France to visit, his home, and later on is like has moved back and is in a vineyard of his own, he does not sound French at all.
Did his family sound French? Sure, I guess you just need to remember them. Sorry, now I'm like stuck on the French thing. Anyway,
I'm kind of stuck on the French thing now too, but no. He's I like tried to read some trivia. He's named after some French guy, but I wasn't super interested, so I didn't read much more.
Listen, this is quality drunk fandom. You are doing great, and you're not expected to be a Wikipedia. Unless...
Well, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna find some stuff, and then I was like, I just want to talk about what I want to talk about because no one wants to talk about Star Trek with me because it's
I do talk about it. Tell me.
I'm so glad because let's say that when it comes to my respect meter, Jean-Luc Picard is like, we'll just say it's 1 out of 10 because that makes it easier. Jean-Luc Picard is like a 10. Like, he's just a solid stand-up. There's so many things that happen in Star Trek that, like, 7 seasons of strife.
It's a lot.
And confrontation and people not talking to each other and communication is key. And Jean-Luc Picard just has to take care of it. And, like, he never is like, let's just decimate him. Let's just wipe him off the mat. This guy is always like, let me understand you. Let me figure out what you're doing because I would like to know as much about you as possible so that I can create a case for you, so that I can fight for you. Like, Jean-Luc Picard is so nice. Like,
so he's a sweet, soft boy that we have to protect.
But no, like, his heart is sweet and soft, but it is encased in a body of cold ass steel. Like,
so he's a turtle.
And you're not a couple of people on your best friend's crew or whatever it's called, like the people that always have their picture taken, and then he'll be like, no to you. You know what I mean? Like, Jean-Luc Picard cannot be pushed around, but he is empathetic. Like Jean-Luc Picard for president 2020 is what I say right now. Because fuck, dude.
I realize turtle is usually like, oh, they hide in their shell. Maybe he's more like an armadillo. Got that soft bit underneath.
Oh, but he doesn't have leprosy. So
wait, do armadillos have leprosy?
It's like leprosy or the plague. Like, one of the two armadillos definitely have.
Really?
And armadillos, they like kill themselves because if they would just stay flat when cars were coming to them, the car would roll, like drive over them and never hit them, but they freak out and so they curl into a ball, and to curl into a ball they have to curl up into it, and so they have to jump, curl their bodies up into a ball and land in the ball. And when they jump, that's when they get hit by the cars, and that's what kills them a lot in Texas. When I lived in Texas, there was lots of dead armadillos on the side of the road. I'm pretty sure it's leprosy. Yeah, it's kind of sad because, like, for real, like, you're so protected. Like, people could shoot you and the bullet would ricochet off your shell.
They probably think they'll be protected from the car. We've sidetracked onto armadillos. It's my fault. Because I'm the sober one, so I'm like the one in, I'm supposed to be the guardian, so I did that. That's okay. My bad. So, Picard.
No, Jean-Luc Picard, he can take care of himself, and he has before. But he... Okay, so the thing that the one thing that you need to know about the Federation, which is like all of the people in space that are friends, right?
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. Like, they look out for each other. And if there's a problem, then they'll go help them out. And there's like, they've separated space up, into some place. Like there's places they don't know, obviously, but places that they know, they've separated them up. So if like they're like, dude, I have a problem here, then they can send people, and the Federation will go there. The Federation is spread out everywhere. Like Jean-Luc Picard is incredible, and there have been other episodes where there have been captains and shit like that that are awful.
Oh.
But there are other people that are in charge of ships, and they're all over space.
Okay.
And they have these giant ships that are like the Enterprise. And the Enterprise and the Federation actually have the technology of these other alien species to completely cloak their ships, to make insane weapons that will just decimate entire planets and shit like that. They have all of this information. They have a wealth of information. That's what they do. They collect. The prime directive is to not interact with other civilizations and species, but to go there and observe them and learn from them until eventually first contact is made, and that's like a whole nother thing. But they just observe other species, and the ones that they're friends with, that they've already made contact with and have like decided that they're friends, if they have a problem, they'll go help them. They have all of this technology that they could just murder everything. They have the manpower, but they could just murder everything. And their whole thing, their whole prime directive, which like when you go to school and then like I guess you do super well, and they're like, you should be a captain. You do the things before that, and then when you go to captain school, before you graduate, they make you sign a piece of paper that's like, yo, so you're super smart, you're really qualified, but you will put the prime directive above your own life and above anyone's life that's on the ship. And on the ship, if it's like a big enough ship, can include your actual family. Like as a Starfleet captain, you can get married and have babies. It's hard because you
little
like
captain babies.
Yeah, like little baby captains, like little captain crunches, right there
little
in your
captain
arms.
crunches.
And they have to put the prime directive above their lives and their families' lives and every life of every person that's on that ship. Even though the show really focuses on just a handful of people, like 10 people, the ship is huge. It's bigger than I ever think about ever, because I also just get sucked up into the story and I forget about it. And they're like, there's like 792 people on this ship and they're all in danger. And you're like, fuck. Like, you never think about that.
Wait, what is this, like a cruise ship?
Well,
what is the purpose of this ship?
They have, okay, so like, they have the helm that has navigation and security, and they have second officer there as well, who helps out with the engineering a lot, especially in this show, which I'll tell you about in a second, because that's the first I'm going to tell you about.
Okay.
But then they also have, they have a bar where they serve synthahol, which is, it gives you the effects of alcohol, kind of, but you don't get fucked up. And you can snap back to where you need to be as soon as possible if you have to. They have a performance hall. They have holodecks. They have schools. They have an arboretum where they have fresh plants. They have engineering. They have like water, I'm sure. And oh my gosh. Okay, so they have like water. They have recreation. That you like. It's a whole thing. Like it's actually, they have different sizes of ships, but the Enterprise is a carrier fleet. I think it's something like it's just it's a huge ship. Like they have two very small ships to escape pods, all the way from escape pods to I can hold like 900 people ships. And actually, like, just I'm so glad that we are talking about how big and the different types of rooms that are in these ships, because one thing that I read is that in none of the blueprints of the USS Enterprise are there any fucking bathrooms. I shit you not. Everybody, no fucking bathrooms.
Wait. Do you think, like, grandfather designed this ship and it's, like, passed down in a lineage?
No shit. There have been jokes about it, like during interviews and stuff, and I think there have been like a couple of mentions in actual episodes where they were like, "We don't even need to go to the bathroom" and things like that. But yes, there's no bathrooms that are in the USS Enterprise blueprint. Oh, but it's huge. It's so big and it's wonderful. And they don't, I mean, obviously show you everything because that would be too many sets, but they try to show you as much as they can, like repurposing sets. That was one thing they did. That's another like part of the creativity that I was talking about. Where they were like, they have to come up with rooms for different things, but they only have so many sets. So they'll repurpose them or they'll, add different things to make them look different. And that's just another like creative way they had to get around that. And I just super applaud them for it. And like not only, so the original series had like no technology because it was from this like late 60s, early 70s, right?
Right.
Well, during Enterprise, the fucking Writers Guild strike happened right during their second season.
No.
So they had to deal with that, and we'll definitely touch on that later. But it had an effect on the second season for sure. Like, first season they're trying to get their roots. Second season, writer's strike has happened, and they have to figure out what they're going to do, and then they continue on from that, and they go on for 7 seasons, and I believe that Deep Space Nine is 7 to 9 seasons as well. So they lived through it, but they do have that hardship of like, oh, we have no one to write shows for us, so let's go look at our comment cards and things that people have sent. You know what I mean? Like things people have sent them because they were just looking for ideas. And yeah, we'll get into that later. It's not that great.
So with season 2
super hard to watch.
I was going to say, would that be considered the weakest in your opinion?
Well, yes.
Yes.
In my opinion and a lot of other people's, we can actually talk about it right now. Like there's one season. No, actually, we have to introduce the rest of the cast.
You can tell. I don't. I know Jean-Luc Picard. I know Enterprise, and I know there's an academy where they train little Enterprise babies.
Yes,
little captain babies, Starfleet
you go
Academy
there when
babies.
you're like 15 or 16, and then from there, I think that you become an ensign on another ship.
Yeah.
And then from that ship, you work your way up to whatever position you essentially aspire to.
Right.
And yeah, we'll talk about the second season in a little bit. Okay. So Jean-Luc Picard is the captain. He's amazing. He likes ships and bottles. He likes archaeology. He likes history. He likes Shakespeare. He likes to read old physical books. Even though this is set in like 2300 something. I know that.
Wait, do they not have little books in that time?
Well, they actually, so since it's like super early, they actually have what they imagine like tablets will look like. And those tablets have like discs and like, not discs as in the sense of like a compact disc, but like almost a floppy disk type thing that would go into them.
So the one fun fact I know about Star Trek to interject is that Star Trek is what inspired whoever invented what now the modern cell phone. It was because of Star Trek, right?
Really?
They had communicators, and the guy who invented the cell phone got inspired by that to make cell phones. Yes, that's right.
And communicators are actually, I don't know how they work because like
no one does.
Someone will be having a super personal conversation, and like we'll just say they'll be like, "Captain to Backclam, Backclam, do you read?" And you'll be like literally mid sentence, like I'm just spilling my darkest, most seepage tea, right? Like, Backclam, do you read? Backclam, and you just click your little communicator, and then it works. And I'm like, did they not hear you before? And when does it stop? Because they're never like, all right, I'll see you later, bye, bing. And they will sometimes, but not all the time.
Maybe it's like when you're in a group call and then you get a ping where it's like, hey, now I need to.
I've never been on that side of a group call.
Yeah, if you get a call on Discord,
there were other people.
If you get a call on Discord from someone else not in your group call, a little window pops up that's like, hey, someone's calling you, idiot. So
what?
Without the idiot part, but yeah. So it kind of works. I'm guessing it's kind of like that.
I mean, I guess, but like they don't like at the end. Sometimes they'll hang up, but a lot of the times they won't, and they'll be like, "All right, I'll see you in the ready room," and then they'll just go. And I'm like, "Are those the magic words to stop it?" Because I don't know if they're the same all the time. But I am not gonna say you're wrong because you made the whole world. You know what I mean?
Right. We need more fans like.
I just love it. Like I can't imagine making anything like it, and so I just appreciate it for everything that it is.
That's okay, Sandwich, because you make smiles.
But speaking of smiles,
Are you gonna tell me another character you like? Is that what we're going on to next? No? Okay.
We're going to the exact opposite.
Opposite? Oh.
Commander Riker. I don't know if you've heard that name.
No, but his name is Riker, so I'm already getting ideas.
Okay, thank you! Thank you! No, I was like, yo, that's a
name
right there. That's a place.
It's a place.
For the not of best at the moment of their lives when they decided to go there, people. And Commander Riker, you can cut that out if you want. I totally understand. But I don't know how else to convey how much I'm just like, ugh! Like, and everyone, this is one of the ones. Like, there's a couple of cast members I'm going to tell you about that I either love or hate that are like, I am on the tiniest of minorities, just a little sprinkle on the chocolate chip pancake cookie muffin that is life. Like, I am like, I don't like this person, and everyone else is like, but why not? And I would like to tell you why and give you my examples.
Oh, I'm ready to hear it because
my moment where I can defend myself to say that I am not a fan of Commander Riker.
Oh no, Sandwich, much like a puppy, when you don't like someone, I trust you.
I appreciate that because, like, okay. Jean-Luc Picard commands respect. He has my fucking respect, right?
Right.
In real life, he has my real respect. So he chose his crew. He had a hand in it. He at least had a fucking vote in it. So he had to have seen redeemable qualities of this human. And it's just one of those cases where I'm like, bitch, where? Like, where? Because Commander Riker comes in and he is the first officer. And he's not only on Star Trek Next Generation, he's also in a fucking soap opera. And he plays this bit for a little while. It's like 1 or 2 seasons. And he's clean shaven. And that's important because he's doing the soap opera while he's doing the Star Trek, right? And then one golden day for so many Trekkies, he decides, I'm not going to do the soap opera anymore. I'm going to take the spaceman life. I'm going to ride that comet. And so he takes the soap opera life and he puts it away and he grows a beard. And it's like not a real beard. It's like one of those ones that's like trimmed around your jawline kind of and like kind of a goatee.
It's funny. I actually just looked up his picture because I wanted to see what he's like.
Mm-hmm.
And he embodies that kind of like douchebag look.
Yes.
Not even because of the beard. I don't know if it's all of the photos. He looks.
It's the eyebrows and the way his eyes are all the time, and he just looks like he's the best, and he thinks that he's awesome, and he thinks that everyone should love him because Captain Picard chose him to be his first officer. Like, talk about riding that fucking clout gravy train. Like,
so I normally don't pause for chat, but yes, Wombat, I can tell immediately who that is by looking at him. And I'm just waiting for him to ask me a random question about what I'm doing right now. It's the guy who hosts Beyond Belief.
Oh, yeah. Apparently he's done some other things. I don't even know about those other things that he's done. And I'm not even gonna shit you. They have like an after Star Trek The Next Generation has been filmed. That motherfucker, whatever his name is,
but now
comes
listen.
back and talks about it. I won't watch it. I have no idea what happened after Star Trek because I refuse to submit myself to an hour and 45 minutes of fucking Commander Riker and telling me like it is. Like, I don't even know what's going to happen and I won't let it happen.
This is my one side note before we continue. Based on, because, you know, I love Beyond Belief and I love him being a host in Beyond Belief. Well, let me tell you something. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes, I did.
Do you know Joffrey? That little shit, the little shit stain that is Joffrey, and how much you want to just punch his lights out. You know what he does in real life? You know what he does?
Don't disappoint me because I'm like loving this right now. What does he do in real life?
He entertains children at puppet shows.
Oh, fuck,
he loves making. I'm dead serious. He
like,
is this
sock or
giant
marionette.
He's a giant sweetheart in real life, and people will tell him to his face like, "I just want to punch you," and he's like, "Yeah, I know." So that's what I think about, where I look at this guy and I'm like, I love you beyond belief, but right now you look like someone I want to punch, so like, you know,
he's like a
this is how it
Malfoy. He's friends with Ron in real life, but he acts like a dick. That's his job.
Alright.
No,
sorry.
I'm not gonna no. That, I love you. That was close. I love you so much, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I will never like Commander Riker. Do you want to know why?
No.
Do you want to know why I won't like Commander Riker?
I will never like
you.
Okay. Listen, I'll never like Joffrey, but I look at the actor and I go like, you cool though.
No,
so that's what I say.
I'm so mad at you right now. I'm mad at both of us right now. Me for how mad I am at Commander Riker, and you for trying to make me like him. I don't like Commander Riker.
That's fine. You cannot like him. I don't like Joffrey, and that's just how it's gonna be.
I have concrete.
Do you want to
reasons.
tell me? I'm ready. I'm ready to hear why you don't like this man. I'm ready.
Okay. So I told you he was on a soap opera.
Yes.
And after he was finished with the soap opera, he grew that fucking beard, and everyone was like, "Oh, Riker's so good now. The beard is here. Everything's fine. The beard is here. Nothing to fear." Things like that, right? Just the beard is here. There's nothing to fear. Riker.
Now, did you make that rhyme or did they make that rhyme?
I don't
also,
know.
loving the voice, but continue.
Riker. I don't. The only thing I know about Riker's past
is that he did an opera.
What?
He did an opera. That was a thing, right, that we've been talking about.
He did an opera?
Who's the opera you've been talking about? Is opera not the word? Have I been hearing the wrong word? At least he did an opera. What did he do?
I don't think I've said that he's done an opera.
Did you? Yeah,
he was in a soap opera. He was in a soap opera on the side. I'm talking strictly Next Generation now. I don't like Riker because
Oh wait, hold up. Do you mean the actor was in a soap opera, not Riker?
Yeah, the actor.
Oh, I thought you meant Riker this whole time.
No, I'm so sorry. No. The actor that played Riker was in a soap opera, and he was not allowed to have facial hair. So he had no facial hair for like the first season or two. Maybe 2.5 seasons, he didn't have facial hair. And then he quit the soap opera because he was like, I'm gonna milk this cash cow for all it's worth. Because that's what fucking Riker would do. And so he's like, and you know what? I know I've had the same face for as long as you guys have known me, but I'm gonna change it because I'm Riker and I don't care about you.
Alright, so let's just talk about Riker then. What do you know about Riker?
I know that Riker thinks he is a Casanova. He tries to seduce like every alien that he comes in contact with, anyone that shows a peak of interest, he thinks that he can just have. And he is also a person that, even though I'm not a huge fan of this other character, Deanna Troy, they actually have a past together. And I will tell you about Deanna Troy in a little bit. She's actually a crew member of the USS Enterprise in the Next Generation. They have a past together, and this dude is a total fucking dick to her. Like, she loves him and is loyal to him and tries to like just be affectionate and be supportive, and I don't even like her. And Riker makes me feel bad for her because he just shuts her down. He flirts with the girls in front of her. He hooks up with girls. He's the playboy of the ship. And if that was not enough, if him being such a dick was not enough, pretty much any time Jean-Luc Picard is like, and he doesn't do it every time. That's what I really respect about Jean-Luc Picard. Not every mission is he like, I need to go down there. Like, he lets other people do the things that they know they need to do. He knows whose job is whose. He knows what job entails what. And when he feels as though he could be an asset, he will insert himself into situations in which someone will go to an alien planet, and Riker's like, I don't think you should go. I mean, I don't think that it's something you should do. Have you thought about how dangerous this could be? And I am like, Riker, how do you think someone becomes the captain of a starship if they have not been tested multiple times on their ability to assess risk and see what type of positive outcome they could provide for a situation to make it so that that risk could be minimized, right? Like, that's his job. It's not like he's like, I'm captain, I don't know what the fuck's going on. It's like, hey, what's up? I'm captain. Welcome to my crib. I want to show you my bar and my arboretum. It's like, I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard. This is what's going on. Here's how things are going to go. And he says, every now and then, either I would really enjoy researching the subject that's happening down there, or I think I would be able to add a specialized touch. And Riker's like, old man, are you sure? You're feeble and rickety. Do you think you can make it on the planet? And I'm like,
this goes on for 7 seasons of.
Yes, no shit. And like, my favorite thing is the kingdom come that I have been waiting for 7 seasons and the season finale. And I will tell you about that later. But just know
that Riker is terrible.
Are on the same page as me, which is the only one I'm presenting you, so you shouldn't even be able to be on any other thing. Riker is the worst.
No, I'm behind you. I'm feeling the Ada Wong energy here, and I hate Ada Wong, so this is great.
I'm just like, dude, let him do his job. Like, he's the captain. Like, maybe if he was like super duper great ensign of the month, maybe I wouldn't let him do things and I would question his motives. But not every time. Only at specific times does he ever, like, let me tag along. And every time he's like, let me tag along. Riker's like, I don't think I know. And tries to be a dick about it.
So we're about to move on to the next character.
Yes. And I think that the character, we're going to move on in Starfleet rank for character, and I will circle back around to the character that he has had a relationship with. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Because she is she's a minor character in my heart. She is one of the main people that shows up when you Google Star Trek Next Generation. I don't think that she's that impressive. So we're going to move on to one of my other favorite fucking characters, which is Data.
Okay.
Is
he the pale boy? I feel like that name sounds familiar.
He is the pale boy, and by pale boy, you mean a Soong type android, which he was created by this guy named Dr. Soong, and he's an android. There have been a couple of others that have been created as well, but the one that shows up the most, so this Starfleet officer's name is Data, and he's an android. He has an identical twin brother who is the first version of this android who is named Lore. And Lore is fucking dick. Like,
Oh, the evil twin brother. I'm
yes,
ready for this trope.
he's a fucking dick. And on top of just like, I'm going to mention an alien race, and then I will reference them again very shortly when I'm talking about another member of the crew.
Okay.
He takes some of the misguided crystalline entity and has them follow him, and he's fucking terrible. He is what the Dr. Soong, that's why he's a Soong type android, because Dr. Soong created him with his wife.
Ah, the ego.
And yes, he's the first one. Data is the more refined version of him and is able to keep his shit in check better. And Data has like no impulse control. Like whatever is just like, hey, what's up? I just want to do it. He'll fucking do it. And it's terrible. And it gets him in a lot of trouble. And it makes him a really big jerk. And it makes him hurt Data's feelings all the time. And it makes me not like him at all. And that's Lore. But Data is wonderful. Data is this android who just wants to be human more than anything in the entire world. He paints. He has learned instruments. He has a pet cat named Spot. He performs Shakespearean theater. Like at some point later on in the series, he unlocks the ability to like quote unquote dream. He is just trying his best to understand the species that fascinates him the most, and that is humans, while also trying to help them as much as he can with his like actual internet-sized brain.
Oh, wait. And I know this is the 80s. Can he connect to the internet? Is there an internet in this setting?
There's a database that they look at for the Federation, but I don't think that there's like something they can just serve. Like there's the whole mission of the Starship Enterprise is to like gather research and learn. And so they have a database that they work from, and they have a computer that they work with, which I will talk about in just a minute because that's another crew member. But they don't like browse a lot. They have data logs and then they look up information.
I mean, it's close enough for the 80s. That's pretty close, right?
That's true.
It's internet adjacent.
There's one point where he's talking to someone and like he reveals that he is in control of how like long his hair is. Like he has control of that. But he grows it out so that he can go to the barber shop regularly, so that he can interact with humans. And so we were talking about Data and his evil brother Lore, right?
And yes, and you like Data. He is your favorite, or is he favorite adjacent?
He's favorite adjacent.
Okay.
My three favorite characters are Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Data, and Wesley Crusher. Those are my three favorites.
Wesley.
Which
Where do I know that name?
Because that's Will Wheaton's character.
Oh, man. Really? I thought everyone hated that. I don't know anything about this, but I always
Yes,
heard...
see? That's what I'm telling you. Yes.
No,
everyone hates his character.
I am ready to hear the good side of Wesley. I'm ready.
I am so glad because that's all I've experienced. Like, and he's coming up. Let's see. We talked about how Data paints. I told you he has a cat.
He wants to be human. Did you tell me about the cat?
He wants to be human.
Yeah, you told me
the cat's name is Spot. He got a cat because he knows that like humans like to interact with other beings and stuff like that. But he loves the cat. Like the character Data loves the cat.
Aw, that's so cute.
And he's come up with like different food regimens to give him the most healthy and appetizing like mixture of ingredients. And when he needs to go places, he makes sure that someone takes care of it, and it's wonderful.
So what I'm hearing is I need to watch this just for this man bot taking care of his cat.
Yes, Data is incredible. Like He is the most incredible robot of any TV show or movie in the entire world ever, and that is a heavy statement, but if you really look at the intentions and like the interests and just like the being that is Data, he is pure and he is good and he is funny and he tries, and that's all that really matters, right?
Right? I gotta segue super quick.
Yeah.
So, because I'm looking at our time frame. So, Drunk Fandom, we gotta get through this 2 hours. So, gauging on breaks, I want to say we're at the half-hour mark right now. How many more characters are there left? For 3?
No, there's one, but
Well,
there's
that
like
you
a
wanted
couple
to
that
go
aren't there
over.
for very long.
How many were you invested in going over? Definitely Wesley.
Wesley is one that I'm gonna go over, and
Deanna?
Deanna and her mom are the other two that I'm going to go over. The
So
other
here's
ones
the
I'm
thing.
like, this
I
is a
obviously-
person and this is the thing they did.
So
but-
I obviously don't know your plan, but I just wanted to give you the updates that right now I want to say we're at the half-hour mark. So just to keep you posted on your time. Not to, like, freak you out. If you go a little over 2
No,
hours,
no,
it's
no,
totally
no.
fine. But just to keep you informed on, like, what's happened. So, alright.
So the people I want to talk about are Wesley, Deanna, and Deanna for just a second, just so that because she's connected to another character and her mom, and then Q is the other person that I want to talk about. And then
Q.
those are really the important people, and anything else is really fluff. These are the members of the cast that you should know about that
And
are
should
very
care about.
important. Yeah.
Okay.
And all I'm like I said, if I can't talk about any of the episodes, that's totally fine. I only picked 2 to talk about anyway because
Listen.
there's so many. But
Sandwich, I trust whatever you've got ready. You got this.
I
believe in
hope
you.
so.
I believe in you. You got this. Who's next? Let's get into the character roster here. We just finished talking about the Data. He seems fun.
Yes.
His brother's a dick. That's fine.
Yes.
Actually, wait. I do have a question. Is his brother on the ship?
No, his brother's not on the ship, but they
Okay.
find his brother disassembled, and then
Oh, I guess
he
there's
comes
a
in
reason.
intermittently, and it's actually played by the same character. They're identical brothers. Just
Right.
Lore was made first, and then Data, and Lore comes in a couple of key points. Data is an android. He is trying to become human, and his creator, Dr. Soong, that I told you about, has made a microchip that will give him emotions. And while he is intending to install that into Data, Lore had overpowered Data and like incapacitated him, and then got the emotions chip installed in his own head, despite Dr. Soong wanting to install it in Data. But if we're being really serious, also Dr. Soong was like, I wanted to install this emotions into you, but I'm going to take a nap for like 45 minutes to an hour, and really just removed himself from the equation and allowed Lore to overpower Data. And oh shit, okay, so Data doesn't really have a relationship other than like being really good friends with Jordy, who is the chief engineer, and I'll tell you a little bit about him later.
Okay.
The only other real relationship that like a physical relationship that he has, is with the original security officer, like chief security, who is named Tasha Yar. And in one of the first episodes of the first season, where they're like trying to get their legs and figure out what they're gonna do, there's like a VR game that just makes everyone mega horny all the time, and they have these like everyone on the ship is addicted to it, and they're all just like, they want to bang all the time. And like the security officer, Tasha Yar, she fucks Data, and I gain the most respect for her. I'm like, girl, you couldn't find anyone better. Like who could do it better than an android that could learn everything in the entire world, never have to worry about commitment, never have to worry about kids? Like, if you were just trying to fuck because you were addicted to a VR game, then Data is the person to go to. And I thought that was awesome of her. But unfortunately, she's only there for like almost the whole first season. But I guess that she thought that this show was going to flop, and so she had decided to leave, and they killed her off.
Oh,
It's actually
brutal.
they go to this planet, and this terrible monster kills her. And way later in the series, you find out that this awful monster that killed Lieutenant Yar is created of all of like the disgusting and terrible traits of an entire alien race. And once they're able to dump all of those terrible things about them and they have just the best parts of themselves, they become this alien life form known as the crystal entity, that just goes around murdering people essentially. But that shit murders Yar, like, and she's gone. And she comes back for a couple of alternate timeline episodes, and then also for I think like a flashback or two. But she very poorly judged that within the first season this show was going to fail and got off as quickly as she could, which I guess at the time may have been smart, but it was not that great because, like I said, it went on for fucking ever. Let me see. So she was a security officer, and she was replaced by another character that I very much enjoy, but he's not, like, there's not a lot to tell about him. His name is Worf, and he's a Klingon, which is like a warrior race. They have like an ornately ridged forehead. They're all very tan. The dudes all have a lot of facial hair, and everyone has very long brown or auburn hair. And like their whole thing is being honorable, like having the honor, bringing the honor to your family. You don't want to have dishonor, right? So Worf is a security guard now, and you're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense than just some blonde chick. And you're like, oh, cool. So Worf is like the most Klingon-y Klingon in the entire world. He knows like every law. He knows every like ceremony, every dance, every ritual that they do. I'm sorry, I had to get a drink.
Okay. I thought you were like just making click noises.
No, I'm sorry. That was me. That was me trying to drink. Because when Worf was very young, both of his parents were murdered, and he was adopted by two humans that took him away from like the Klingon world. And so he learned everything he could about Klingon culture. And I feel so bad for Worf because when he goes back to like interact with Klingons and stuff, he's all about honor and like being the best Klingon that he can be, and a lot of them don't fucking care, like, because that's just their life. You know what I mean? Like, it's something you grew up with, so it's not something you appreciate. It's something that he always wanted, so he learned as hard as he could. And
Wait, why wasn't he with his people in the first place?
There was an attack. I don't remember exactly what it was, and just 3, 2, 1. This is why, like, this is one of the things where I'm like, I want to do this and I'm super excited, but I'm also really nervous because honestly, like, something happened. There was a giant battle. There was like something happened, and it was a surprise, and they murdered a fuck ton of people, and it included Worf's family, but I don't remember what it was. And Trekkies know, and I love them and I respect them, but I don't know.
If you don't know, that's
that
okay.
His parents were killed.
That's a good enough explanation. His parents were killed. He got orphaned into space. It's fine. Like, that's good enough for me.
And so he was picked up by this dude that worked with the Federation, and he did a job. And he took Worf back home with him and raised him, taught him the Klingon ways, but he raised him in a human environment, not with Klingons. So when he goes back to Klingon environments, he's like super intense about it, and all the Klingons are like, bro, that's like a thing that happens, but they're not as intense. And he is like all about honor, and I love that about him. And he's like all about pride and being the best you could be. He has a brother that you learn about, and his brother's like okay from what I remember. He's kind of shitty, but then like Worf shows him like, dude, be fucking better, and then he is. And he has this wife who is wonderful and rebellious and a free spirit, but she's smart and she's beautiful. Like, if you Google Klingon, they're not incredibly aesthetically pleasing, but if you Google Worf's wife, she is. Like, she's just very beautiful, and she has a very commanding presence. And they actually have a child together, and he sends that kid to go live with his parents, and then they're like, we don't want to fucking raise your kid. Here's your kid back. And he has to raise this kid as a single parent on the starship because his wife passes away, which is very sad. And his kid, like, it's hard.
Oh.
It's hard to like his kid. I don't know if they were trying to make him more, like, relatable, but I like Worf without his kid a lot more. He has a couple of interesting episodes that happen with him. He doesn't show up very often, but he does begin to build the bridge between Worf and the counselor of the ship, Deanna Troy, which is very important to Worf's timeline because eventually in like the final season, he and Deanna finally begin to explore their feelings for each other. And the reason why it takes them so fucking long to explore these completely innocent and pure feelings that they feel towards each other, even though I'm not a huge fan of Deanna, is because Riker and Deanna also have a history. And that brings us to Deanna Troy. The half Betazoid.
So
Blech.
I'm laughing at her last name, because actually her whole name, Deanna Troy. I don't know if you know what that reference is.
I'm sure it is a reference. I honestly don't know what it is though. Why are you laughing at Deanna Troy?
So I'm trying to remember her actual name, but basically there is a story, a real life story about a woman.
Well, you cut out. You said
Oh, am I leaning too back? Helen. So it's because Helen of Troy.
Oh, Helen of Troy. She started that big war.
Right. So whenever I see pretty women with the last name Troy, I'm like, I see what we're doing. Yeah.
You know, I guess I could say that Deanna Troy did cause a lot of strife. And she was aesthetically pleasing. But was she worth it? Let's discuss that. Because she's another one of my least favorite fucking characters, man. Like, she has such an important role. She is the ship's counselor. Like, anyone who has a problem, especially Captain Picard, will go to Deanna Troy so that they can figure out the way that they should go. They use her as a rudder to navigate their lives, right? Deanna Troy, special thing about her is that she's half Betazoid. Her dad was human, but her mom is Betazoid, which...
Do I have to look that up?
No, I will tell you about all her
do I have to look
mom.
at an image, or...
Oh, you can. She looks like a human, except for she has brown curly hair. Betazoids are telepathic, but the thing that is a characteristic that makes them almost unsettling is that their entire iris is black. They have the whites of their eyes, but everything else is totally black. When you see Deanna Troy, you don't really notice it with her mom, Luxana Troy, who I'm going to talk about in just a minute. You can notice it a little bit more later on in the series. She talks to another Betazoid. There aren't that many that come into the show at all. One of them is blonde, though, and it's almost unsettling if you didn't remember them talking about their eyes being black, that this guy has bleach blonde hair and then black irises that just look dead, like great white
especially
shark.
If you're like me and you hear all the black-eyed children stories, you're like, oh man, do they grow up and become Betazoids? Like,
I wish it was a full black demon eye like Supernatural, but it's just the colored part.
Yeah.
So, I would assume that vampires of time would come and, grow up and to be Betazoids because they don't do anything productive from what I've learned except for go behind people's backs and embarrass other folks. But we'll get into that in a minute. Deanna Troy has a past with Riker. They were romantic when they were younger, and he like had a mission, was like, I'll be back, and then never came back, and then eventually they were put on the same ship, and like really he doesn't remember, which makes it worse. Or maybe he does, which makes him even worse.
This is Riker we're back talking to, correct?
Yes, and they knew each other a long time ago. Like they even have a special secret word for each other, and I don't remember what it is right now, but they'll like call each other, and it's like.
But now, wait, he pretends to not know her, or to not...
No, he knows her. I just don't remember.
No, does he pretend not to know?
No, he definitely... Everyone knows they know each other. And, like, he'll, like, take her to 10 Forward, which is the bar, and, like, have dinner with her and have intimate conversations with her. And there have been moments throughout the show where he's talked about how he, like, has these strong feelings for her, and he'll put her in these situations of emotional turmoil where he's like, I love you and I have these sensations for you, and she's like, oh shit, like maybe this is gonna happen. I've really loved this dude for a really long time and he keeps just dicking me over, but maybe this time, and that happens a lot, and it never pans out. Like as far as I remember, they don't have a Betazoid Riker wedding. Like it doesn't happen, and he just is a total dick. And like it makes me mad how much he dicks her around because I don't even like her, but he makes me feel bad for her. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
I don't want to feel bad for her. I think she's a shit counselor. I think she's a terrible telepath. Like,
but you know what? Like, she's still a person. And you're an
empathic
person.
Yeah.
You're an empathic person. You see she's hurting and you're like...
Yeah, and I'm just like, dude, I wish that was not happening to you right now. But also, like, could you step up the skills that you said that you had on your resume and obviously lied about before you got the job that you were not qualified for? Because, like, I'm not even kidding you. She'll be like, I feel like there's something, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And then eventually... she's like, I don't think there's anything here. And then someone else will be like, yeah, I feel the same way. And I'm like, God, what do you do? Like, I know you're half Betazoid, so you're not full Betazoid, and maybe that's what it is. But you are the worst person. Just
do nothing.
I don't know. She helps people, but she's not like, if you're touted as like being a telepath and being able to read the room and shit, like be able to fucking read the room, not just be like, I feel like there's a mysterious entity. I don't know exactly what this feeling is. Like, I was just constantly disappointed by her lack of being able to use her skills. Like,
right.
I don't know. But one person who is, she does like chocolate, which is good.
That's good.
That's like really only her redeeming quality. And the fact that she's embarrassed by her mom. And her mom is Luxana Troy. And her mom is a full Betazoid. She is... You think that's a name? Would you like her full title?
I would.
She is Luxana Troy, daughter of the 5th house, holder of the sacred chalice of Rix, heir to the holy rings of Betazoid. She is like a high-profile ambassador. So you're like, oh...
So this is where George R. R. Martin gets inspiration for Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yes, absolutely. Just in the name, though, because like you're like,
oh yeah,
she's got super powerful. She like people listen to her, people respect her, people take the things that she says as very important news, right?
Right.
I hate Luxana Troy. Would you like to know why?
Because she's an old white woman?
No, that's that's almost enough. But she will come on the ship. And Captain Picard will be so respectful to her and just be so nice and hospitable. And she'll be like, oh, Captain Picard, don't think such things about me. And just say shit like that in front of everyone. Yeah, but who even knows if he's singing that? I'm guessing he's not because he looks fucking pissed, but everyone else is like, well, she can read people's minds, so he must be a total perv, and just totally underhands him and makes him look like he's just totally thinking about sleeping with her all the time. And I'm like, that's not what Captain Picard is all about, and you need to calm down. And like, I bet he would like you if you guys could have like a nice dinner and like a normal conversation, but right now you're just forcing all these things upon him, and that is not what's happening. But it's what's happening because that's what everyone else is perceiving.
So I'm going to chime in here because I love you, Sandwich. I've agreed with everything so far, but I gotta tell you, A female trickster like that, I'm very amused by because you never see female tricksters. So I'm
going to be
amused by her.
very honest and say I never even thought of her as a female with this like specific word trickster, and that makes me like her more. But just her unabashed disrespect for Helen of Troy to kick it over as just like viewing it from the timeline. But I get that now, and that honestly makes me like her a little bit more. But I'm just like,
but you cannot like her.
I'm so mad at you.
I don't know. She sounds a little funny.
Well, she's very important, and she doesn't just come in this series. She actually is present in the original series and in Deep Space Nine because she is Gene Roddenberry's wife, who is the person that created Star Trek. And not only
that's pretty cool
is she Gene Roddenberry's wife, it's also very cool. She's the voice of the fucking computer on the goddamn Enterprise. Like, that's her voice. You ask the computer to do something, and it says, computing, blah, 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 blah. And that's Deanna Troy. That's Alexandra Troy's voice. So that's very cool. And it's funny to have her talk to the computer and then have her self-talk back. And I appreciate that. I just really wish that she would respect Jean-Luc Picard, and I'm going to be very honest, I did not gain a respect for her until Deep Space Nine, which is a totally different series. But
that's fair, though. Listen, I don't like Loki. Everyone seems to like Loki, though.
I like Loki and Supernatural, but I am not a huge fan in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, I'm referring to Marvel Loki specifically.
But that's her, and like, I think, honestly, I mean, there's a couple that are like meh.
What about Wesley?
But that's the last one that I don't like of characters.
Oh, okay.
The next one is no. There's a couple more. Jordy LaForge, he's the chief engineer. He's actually a dude that did Reading Rainbow, and he has the visor over his eyes. He was born blind, and he uses that visor to do like electromagnetic vision thingies, and he's very, very helpful. They tell him, they're like, Jordy, how long will it take? And he's like, I need at least 9 hours. And then Picard will be like, you have 3.5, and then he'll get it done. Like, Jordy is solid. He's Data's friend, and they're good to go. The only creepy thing that ever happened with Jordy really was he was doing some research in a holodeck, which is like a VR simulator essentially, with this female doctor, and he like fell in love with her. And then, like, fell in love with the simulation, and later met the girl and thought that it was going to be the same, but she didn't know because she was in the simulation, and then she found the simulation. But other than that, Jordy's been very fucking cool. And then...
No, wait. I just bought my mic.
No,
is Jordy an alien or a human?
He's a human. He's from...
Okay.
I know if
with the eye thing, I meant he was an alien or something.
The eye thing is actually important in an episode where they're trying to decide whether or not they should deconstruct Data, the android, so they can replicate him and make more of him. And he's like,
don't.
Well, Jordy had no vision, and now he has this crazy visor, like, what, you know, he like uses that as part of his evidence. And he's a good guy. Jordy is a good guy. He's solid. He's always there. He's always dependable. There's Guinan, who is played by Whoopi Goldberg, and she's the bartender. She's not in very many episodes, but every time you see Guinan in a thumbnail, you know it's going to be a good episode. There's going to be some very like troubling mystery or situation to be solved, and she will help someone realize their potential and help them solve it, which I think is beautiful. She's an alien being that who knows how old she is. No one knows where she's from. Her entire civilization has been destroyed, but she's a mysterious like guide that will help you figure out what you need to do.
Ooh, spooky guide.
Then, before we get to my most favorite character, Wesley Crusher, we must talk about the two doctors of the ship.
Oh.
The first Doctor was there for the first season, gone for the second, and came back, I believe, in the third season, maybe the fourth season. Her name is Dr. Beverly Crusher. There's another Doctor that was she was only there for like a season while Dr. Crusher was gone. Her name was Dr. Pulaski. She started off being a dick to Data, talking about how he's a robot and he just a machine. And then eventually wised up and realized how cool he was and then got cool. And as soon as she got cool, Dr. Crusher came back, of course.
Okay.
Dr. Crusher is one of Jean-Luc Picard's old friends, knew them from a very long time ago. She's a very competent doctor. She is a terrible human being. She thinks that rules don't apply to her and the Prime Directive doesn't matter. And several times she tries to use her friendship with Picard as like a manipulative tool against him to get her like bidding to be done, but most of the time he will not relent, which I very much appreciate about him. But what she brings to the table, little Wesley Crusher.
Yeah. So, son,
only child. Her husband actually very sadly passed away in action. And she continued her path as a medical doctor for the Federation with her only son. I apologize for not being able to say her twice there.
That's okay.
Wesley,
good sandwich.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Wesley.
So Wesley, in the first episode, just like I said, Beverly doesn't care about the rules and takes Wesley up to the bridge.
Oh no.
And Picard's like, yo, kids can't be up here. This is not safe. This is a very important battle station. And she's like, I thought it's because we are friends, it would be fine. Well, eventually, on his own, Wesley earns Captain Picard's respect because of his creative problem solving and incredible mind. And he becomes an ensign. He's on the bridge all the time helping navigate. He eventually goes to Starfleet Academy and he comes back to visit. One of the reasons why I hate Riker so much is in a lot of those early episodes, Wesley would come up with really creative ideas of how to fix things. And then Riker would take his fucking idea and be like, Picard, I came up with this thing. And would just present his idea as if it was Riker's. And it totally wasn't. And I was like, dude.
What a dick.
Yes. And so I'm just like, come on, man. Like, I'm so mad at you. But Crusher grows up. He goes to Starfleet Academy. He comes back every now and then for like little cameos. I think for like 5 seasons though. He's on the credits, and I remember when his name just went from like regular Wesley Crusher to Ensign Crusher, and I like cried when it came through and I saw it, and I was so proud of him.
How many seasons was he in?
I believe he was just in 5 and then came back to visit for the last 2. Or maybe he wasn't in the one with Pulaski because his mom wasn't in it. He wasn't in the whole show, and I know near the end he was barely in it at all. He actually leaves the show by branching off with this alien entity that's called the Traveler. And the Traveler tries to bring the idea that time isn't linear, it's fluid, and it moves back and forth all around us. There's so many different things that it can do. He's trying to bring that mindset into the world.
This is the freaking 80s?
Hard. Yeah. It's very hard for the people to understand. And eventually Wesley comes back to visit, and he gets it. It clicks with him, and then he actually leaves with the Traveler. And I'm like, that's such a good ending for your story.
Does he go to Riker and be like, "See, Traveler picked me," then middle finger away?
I wish he would. That would have made it beautiful for me. But it would have been like
I'll draw it for you.
Petty. And Thank you. Just like, and then Traveler picked me, and then Riker just like dumbfounded because he thought he was so cool.
And then just
that would be
Rick Roll music in the background.
Yes, except for I was gonna give you up, I was gonna bring you down, because Riker deserves. No, he doesn't. I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure Riker. You know what? No, he does, because he dicks around Deanna Troy. It makes me mad that Riker makes me feel bad for Deanna Troy. That's like I. But you know,
Sam, would you have alcohol?
Thank God. And you know who else I have? My very last and most favorite character. That's not a human. That's an alien.
Oh, okay.
And this is a character. His name is Q, and he's part of the Q continuum. And the Q continuum is this entire collection of beings. In the beginning, they were going to make them all look like the original Q, who I don't remember the actor's name, but he's also been in other things, and is pretty famous. But eventually, they came up with other Qs that could be other parts, and they're a godlike entity that this specific member of the Q continuum, Q, that you see throughout, I believe he's in the original series at least maybe once or twice. He's all throughout Next Generation, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be in Deep Space Nine as well. He is essentially the trickster. As I would think about it in a general Loki intense world-changing way. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's incredible. He pushes humanity into like very dangerous and very complicated situations, seeing how Picard and the crew of the Enterprise will, conduct themselves, see how they'll react to these different races that they're interacting with, these different situations that they're being put in, and he is just trying to make them realize their potential and just be the most that they can be. Yes, he's like, he can be condescending. A lot of the times he will show up to the Enterprise dressed as the captain. There honestly, very weirdly, are a lot of episodes where Jean-Luc Picard is wearing like almost a red leather coat. And maybe there's a thing with that, and I don't know what it is, but I like him better without it. Q will wear the same outfit minus the coat. He'll pretty much every time he shows up on the Enterprise, he will be dressed as the captain. And there are a lot of different episodes where he comes in, but every single episode, you know that it's going to be a crazy story. You know that it's going to have an insane plot, and you know that it's just going to make you feel really good to be a human when you're done watching it.
I dig it.
Yeah.
So now is Q in the whole thing, or?
He is throughout it. He comes and tests the crew a lot. There's one time where he's actually been like thrown out of the Q continuum. And when that happens, he requests asylum at the Enterprise. And Picard grants him asylum and actually eventually allows him to be a member of the crew for a little bit. But before that, Q is like, hey, I think you guys are pretty cool. I'd like to be a member of your crew. And then Picard's like, no. And then Q gets super duper mad and is like, you can't do anything without me, and throws them into the future, and not only into the future, but also into the path of the Borg, which is a race of aliens that are like essentially half super pale, pasty human, half robot. that all share a single consciousness and just destroy everything. They're like, I'm going to take all your knowledge and then kill you so that it's fine now. And he throws them into the path of that. And during that episode where they first encounter the Borg, Q actually does have to save them. But eventually, the crew of the Enterprise will encounter the Borg a few other times. And the Borg while there are other enemies during the Star Trek Enterprise, the Borg are the big scary enemies. Like, does that make sense?
I was about to ask, are they like, I don't want to say the Reapers from Mass Effect, but I kind of mean that.
Well, I haven't played Mass Effect, but
Okay.
they're the people. They're not the. I guess they're people, kind of. They're the half people, half robots. They travel around in these crazy cubes.
Uh-huh.
They will suck up all of your knowledge, and then they will just murder you.
Oh.
He throws them in the way, and actually, this first time they end up getting away because of Q. But then, like a year later, like Q throwing them into the Borg sped up the timeline of when they were supposed to interact as beings. And so then just 1 year later, they actually are being attacked by the Borg. And the Borg end up kidnapping Captain Jean-Luc Picard and forcing him to assimilate into their like single mind. And he's the Lakotis, I think, of the Borg, which they use him as a mouthpiece to talk to the humans and try to convince them to come and follow the Borg.
Okay.
And eventually they are able to a group of the like best friends that I told you about, like the people that they show the show about. Yeah, like, but the people, like the crew that's like on the show, like that tiny group of people.
Okay.
They figure out how to put false information into the Borg's brain, and they're able to save Jean-Luc Picard. Yeah, because they're all robots. Like they're human, but all their brains are connected. And so they save Jean-Luc Picard, but not after he's already killed like 39 fucking Federation whole ass ships. Like he's murked some people. And so
how many
he's
ships
really sad about it.
How many ships do they normally have? Like 39 out of how many?
A fuck ton. It's a fuck ton. They're spread out all over over space.
39.
But it's like 39 ships full of people. So
I would say if you do 39 times like 700, it's not a small number of people.
Times like, I mean, what if you killed 39 people? Like, how sad would that be?
Oh, it is. No, but I'm just saying. Even then, there's like 700 people a ship, you said, right? So it's 39 times like 700.
Yes,
not a small number.
Yeah, like a Starfleet. Yeah, like the big ship like that. Absolutely. He actually that within that 39 ships that were destroyed is a plot hook that will tie Deep Space Nine, the Star Trek that I'm currently watching, to Next Generation, which is a very nice plot hook. The captain of Deep Space Nine, which is a space center, like the ship that he was on, his wife actually passed away in that attack, and he was super mad at Picard. Like he didn't like him at all, he didn't trust him at all. He was reminded of his dead wife the whole time, and was able to eventually, by getting to know Picard and learning more about him, forgive Picard for what had happened and grow as a character, and it's really beautiful.
Aw. So, okay. You just went over a big plot hook about the Borg? You said there's 7 seasons of this show. How big is this plot hook compared to the whole show?
It's, what they do is, there's not that many plot hooks that go over multiple episodes or seasons. So while this one doesn't have a ton of, it doesn't have a ton of episodes, it has, let me see if I have that on my, I don't think I do. No, I don't.
That's okay. I was just curious.
Iborg. There's 1, 2. So there's 2 where they meet the Borg, and then there's another one. There's a 2-part where they meet the Borg. There's a 2-part where they're dealing with the Borg again, and then eventually they actually rescue a single Borg escape pod, I guess. There's only one Borg in it, and he's by himself for a very long time and starts to create like an individual identity, and they're going to send him back to his Borg cube because that's like the type of ship they fly, and it looks like literally a cookies and cream Minecraft cube. Like it looks like crunched up Oreo with a bunch of deliciousness.
By the Borg are wild. I just googled them.
Yeah, right.
Pretty wild looking.
You should look up their cube. So
they're cute.
They get this one single Borg, and the Borgs, there's a ton of Borgs living in one cube, and they will just do their job, and they will go back and plug into their like communicative mind. They rescued a single Borg. He was by himself for a very long time, started to come up with his own individual identity, named himself Hugh, and then they were going to give him information that would essentially destroy that Borg cube, but they determined that he had changed and he was no longer just a Borg. He had actually referred to himself as I when Picard,
no more that hive mind.
Yes, like Picard was like, I got to test this guy. I'm going to tell him that I'm going to change. Jordy, who is Data's best friend, actually befriended Hugh, the Borg, as well. He's like, yo, Picard's like, yo, Hugh, resistance is futile. You need to assimilate. And Hugh's like, that's not what's going to happen. And then Picard was like, Jordy needs to be assimilated. And then Hugh was like, I will not be a part of that. And him saying I was a huge thing because that completely separated him from any other mind. And at that point, they decided to just send him back like normal. He plugged into the cube, and all the Borgs were like, what is independence? And actually splintered that cube, and half of them like died. They didn't know what the fuck to do. And the other half...
I'm just laughing that independence destroyed this. It was like, what is this thought?
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with it.
Who is thinking differently than the rest of the cube? George, is that you?
Dude, yes.
George 23, stop thinking differently of the cube.
It was
Actually, I'm Hugh now. What do you mean you're Hugh?
Who is Cube? I am Hugh. Yeah, because they just put him back into it. Like, they're like, all right, we're just gonna plug you back into it, which I respect because they didn't murder Hugh, but then also, like, they all share a brain. So what do you think's gonna happen when you plug in a brain with a totally different thought into your brain? Like, the people, like, the Borgs freaked out. And a lot of them died. A lot of them just did not know what to do, and they died.
Well, weren't they evil, or is this how they became evil?
They're not evil in the sense that they're not doing it with a malicious intent. They're just consuming, if that makes sense. Like, they are not like, listen, we hate you and that's why we're doing this. They're like, we want knowledge and we will eat you to get your knowledge.
Yeah, that's still evil to me. I know folks like to argue. Listen, I know folks like to argue this whole morality thing. But if you're all about me, and I'm consuming, and if you die, well, it's just what I have to do. I mean, like, this thing, do they need this for nourishment? Is this how they survive, or do they just want it? Because I understand that, you know... Yeah, so they just want it. So they're dicks.
Yeah, and, like, that was actually the whole thing where they were like, should we just murder them all? Because they're all just this one brain, and they don't know how to change. And then the one Borg Hugh that began to have a separate identity was the one that made them say, we're not going to give this Borg and like detrimental data that he's going to put back into this hive mind. We're just going to give him back the way he is because he can change and be a real person. And we're going to force this change upon everyone else in this hive mind that has no idea what's about to happen to
I just
him.
love the concept of like, go little Borg, change your people, make them free. And then like he runs off. And then there's just screaming as the cube shatters. Yes,
it's a beautiful, terrible thing. And then they die, or they are independent. They can do their own thing, but they have no rudder to steer them through this life. So who do they cling upon except Data's identical evil twin brother lore, right?
Oh. I mean, that's wild. I thought you were gonna say, who do they cling upon but the Klingons, and we were getting like a pun thing here?
Oh, fuck. I feel so bad for Worf. Like, Worf wants to be the best Klingon there ever was in the entire world, and no one else gives a fuck.
Worf is the little puppy.
Like, I don't feel as though I can use this phrase because I have only watched a few animes and things of that genre.
No, do it. Upset the weeb.
No, Ballistic was like, he's a klingaboo. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And he's like, it's like a weebaboo or whatever they're called, like, where they're just like, they want to be the best. Like, they've read all the rules. They do all the things. Like, have all the order. He wears the thing. Like, everyone else wears a uniform. And then Worf wears a uniform and then this big ass fucking chainmail leather sash, and I don't even know what it is, but it's like, that's Klingon, because Klingon is aggressive as fuck. Like, that's fucking Klingon. And so he just, like, he's like, everything he does is for honor. Like, he has that kid, right? And then his parents are like, I'm not gonna raise your kid anymore, so he takes him back, and all he does is try to teach the kid honor. Like, he wants to be the best. He wants to be the most Klingon ever. And it's just like, you are a visitor from a strange land and no one that lives here does that shit.
Alright, so we've interjected with the Borg very randomly. I don't know. Where do we go from here? So, I learned about the Borg. What else is there to learn about Star Trek Next Generation?
I mean, just that they're good people. Like, that's what's so hard about. Like, there are so many individual episodes. Like, there's so many episodes where they'll go in the holodeck and they'll be in the Wild West, or Jordy will take Data through a Sherlockian mystery because he knows that is important to him. They will have actual concerts with real violins, or they will put on real Shakespearean plays, and they will hold to these pieces of humanity that are so innately earthen and could not be alien at all. Like, they have to be from Earth. Like, but they're beautiful and they're wonderful. And even though they're so far ahead of us, like I said, they're hundreds of years from where we even are right now, and this show aired dozens of years ago. Like, they are human. And they will go through, it's like every episode is either they're meeting an alien race and trying to deal with them as peacefully as possible. Like, even though, like, Federation, like I said, has all of the technology to just fuck up everything. They just try to go into everything, and if they haven't made contact, they will just observe and learn and try and learn about the planet, try and learn about its environment, try and learn about its solar system. Or if they've made contact and these people have asked for help, like, no matter what, they will just go and help them. And I wish that everyone would just take a decent chunk of their lives, because I know that 7 seasons of television is a lot to watch, and just really watch Star Trek again and see that even in the future, when we have the biggest guns and money doesn't matter, and we can replicate food so no one is hungry, and pretty much anything except for a crazy alien sickness can be fixed with some sort of medical implication, we still appreciate friendship, honesty, hard work, music, art, and literature, and freedom, and communication. Like, those are the things. Like, people think that the future has to be hexagons and cold and beepy and bright lights, but it can really be a a competition in your elementary school where you draw something that you want to show the captain, and it goes to the captain and he picks it, and then you guys have a conversation about it. And if you have a problem, you can go to someone that you know is empathetic and will listen to you and will really try their hardest to understand, even though they're actually totally different from you, even if they're a completely different species, and where you can commune with your friends in places and enjoy music that people have been enjoying since before there were even light bulbs, and you're listening to it in space, and just at the core of humanity being with each other and having a good time. Like, it's not about power, and it's not about money, and it's not about being the best, because even Data, who is the best at everything you could possibly be out and does everything perfectly, has problems telling jokes and has to learn how to develop the soul that he puts into his music. Because while technically every single note and every single rest is so precise, there's an innate humanity that we put into things that we care about that shows when we share our experiences with anyone else that will interact with us. And just being your own experience that you can share with other people and interact with, and being as pure as you can, and just trying to figure out what other people do as their one thing that they could ever pick to do to interact with other people. And that is what Star Trek is.
And when you are a bean. Love you.
That
That was very wholesome, and that is so that this is your whole compilation of Star Trek?
Yeah. I
Yeah?
mean, pretty much. It's just, I mean, I could tell you about the final episode. It doesn't even matter. All you need to know is the Q episode. So if you're trying to watch it, I highly
listen.
recommend any episode that has
You don't have
Q.
to go into the final episode. I was curious if there were any other overarching arcs, but I know this is a show from the 80s, so a lot of those shows were about, like, here are the characters, here's some cool stuff that happens to them, and they went episode by episode. So if that's just what they did...
Well, I mean, they touched a lot of topics that are poignant today, which I thought was very cool. Like, watching it within, between 2019 and 2020, I was able to relate to a lot of topics. And I thought that was very cool because they weren't just trying to go with the newest trend. Like, they're like, these are human problems. Let's address them. And I think that
Right.
is so fucking cool.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the fact that when they addressed them, they, as often as they could, were as diplomatic as possible and used as little violence. Like, set your phasers to stun. Like, where do you think that came from? It came from Star Trek. Like, they weren't like, let's murder everything and burn it down. They're like, let's talk this the fuck out and figure out what's going on.
Oh, for sure. I think what's really cool about this whole episode, since we're basically done from the sounds of it, what I think what's really cool about this whole episode is, unlike most Drunk Fandoms, which has been like, here's what happened, this has kind of been like, here's everyone that makes Star Trek Star Trek. I think that's really neat. It's not what I was expecting at all from this episode. I've learned a lot. No, really, like this episode has definitely been a strange one in the best ways.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful. Quick pause. That's why I stopped talking for a second. Quick pause for Deacon. So Sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
This is pause moments. This is getting edited out. There's nothing else you want to talk about in the episode?
I mean,
that's up to you. If not, I'm gonna tell you how to wrap it up because you have to do the small thing with the outro. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, not really. Like, it's
No?
just, I mean, I really think you should watch it, and I will tell you that in the outro as well. Like, I think it's a fucking great show. I know that it's a commitment, and it is good. It's something that you can watch without looking at, but
listen,
I mean, that's about it.
I'm gonna talk about it, but like, you did a really good job. Alright, so what we're gonna do is you and I are going to pause for a second, like no sound, for Deegan's editing purposes. Get back into it.
Okay.
So you're gonna ask me, what did I think, or more specifically, what did I learn about Star Trek? Because this is where I do like my ending analysis of it.
Oh, cool! Okay,
right,
okay.
where I go over what you told me, basically. So, you know, at the beginning you were like, what do you know about it? And I basically said nothing. So now you go, okay, so like, you know,
I
right.
wrote it down. I wrote down what you know. Okay, I'm gonna compare it to what you know right now.
Alright, so we're gonna do a tiny pause for editing Deacon.
Mhm.
Okay, starting now. Okay, wow, so that's it then, huh?
That is my Star Trek. I mean, there's a lot and there are so many interpretations, but personally, those are the things that really, really, really matter to me. And I think that if you know nothing else about Star Trek, then you should know at least these things.
No, it's great. It's, again, what I find fascinating is, to you, the show is about the people, and I think that probably is I like that. I think that's neat.
Star Trek is a really special show.
I can hear how much you like it. Like it's gushing out of you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like it, and I'm so excited that there's so much content for me to consume about it, and that there's so much more for me to learn. But from what I've learned, like I feel as though I've soaked it all up, and it's just wonderful. Like, I'm so thankful. I can't believe I never watched Star Trek before, just because people were like, hey, you either like Star Trek or you like Star Wars. And I was like, well, I mean, Star Wars is pretty cool, so I just never watched Star Trek. And I'm so glad that I have. Like, oh, it's an experience. And I feel as though I'm starting to get that whole mentality of just really, you remember things from way earlier seasons and they'll say something offhanded. You're like, wait, that contradicts that. And like, the mindset of a Trekkie, but also just being open and like pretty much loving everything about space, because I wish that wall, I feel as though it's breaking now because it's not nearly as important to a lot more people than it was before. It was the majority of people that thought it was important, the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. Now there are more people that are just consuming content, and that line has begun to blur. But I'm so happy for it because I want everyone to experience the show. Every series I've watched so far.
You've convinced me. I'm gonna have to watch it.
That makes me so happy. So what? Since you are excited to continue your journey, have you picked up any little nuggets of information on the way? Like, what are you taking away from this experience of, like, this is your crash course into Star Trek, and what shrapnel have you embedded in your flesh?
Oh wow, that went from really soft and wholesome to now I'm injured.
I know, but like in the knowledge way, like what little shrapnels of knowledge have been embedded in your brain?
I learned that even though this ship has like 700 people on it, apparently only 8 of them actually matter.
That's numero uno that I didn't want to say, but for real, that's all that really matters.
So, only 8 of them matter. What else? So Jean-Luc Picard, I learned a lot about that he's more than just the memes.
Yes.
He actually has, so he actually has, like, I don't want to say soul, because that sounds cheap, but he's interesting. He's actually I always assumed that he was just the guy who was like, alright, do the thing, but there's more to him, and I think that's neat. I learned there are other characters that I never knew before. I finally learned what the eye visor is on that one guy, because that's in an episode of Psych. I always wondered what the heck it meant. It is, yes. They meet someone who has a secret nerd cave, and they actually have, like, a replica of it.
What?
Yeah. So, I love Psych. It's such a good show. I learned that the only female sucks, which is unfortunate. Or, she's not the only female, but, she's the only female main character. You know, she's the only prominent female sucks.
But Beverly Crusher is probably more relevant than I said, but I really don't care. Just saw a doctor, not a great, I don't know. Blah.
The two non-humans, I think you said Q was not a human, right?
Q is not a human.
So the only non-humans, Q and Data, are like best boys, from what I understand. I know Picard's up there, but you really gushed about Q and Data a lot.
Yeah.
Wesley is cooler than people give him credit for.
Yeah! Fuck yeah, dude! I'm so glad you bring that up because people hate on him all the time. When I digress, but he was one of the first people to be like, "You want me to pay my bills in exposure dollars?" Honestly, Will Wheaton, one of the first people to say that to a real person. Like,
I love it. That makes it even better. And then finally, I learned the only plot points that matter are Data's evil brother.
Yeah.
And Hive Mind Cube Borgs.
Yes. Very important. Very weird. Not, like, honestly, not so many episodes about it, but very important bits of
well, clearly it's a one thing that comes back a lot, so it mattered enough for that.
It mattered enough that there's a Pinterest recipe for Rice Krispie treats that are Borg cubes.
Alright. Well, that was our Star Trek episode of Drunk Fandom. Special shout out to our guest and our drunk lore master, Sandwichmaster. Sandwich, are you too drunk to plug yourself? Would you like me to do that? Because Sandwich is a content creator. This is the part where I don't know, are you able to... Do you need me to... Sandwich streams on Twitch.
Yep.
Right? You want to talk about your stream?
I'll just hype you up as you talk about me. Does that sound good?
Sure. Sandwich is adorable art. They stream on the Twitches. Your art's very cute. I've seen the emojis. They stream on the Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Sandwichmaster 5000, which is the number 5000, not 5K, not written out 5000. No, it's Sandwichmaster 5000.
It's difficult enough like that, let me tell you.
So definitely check them out. There'll be links somewhere as well. I don't know.
Cool. Thank you.
Whichever part you're listening to this on. Of course, you came in, you dedicated your time. Of course we're gonna shout you out. It was wonderful. And then, of course, special shout out to our sponsor, to your Patreon, Nejikuma. You keep the channel growing and the content flowing. We, of course, have our own content, because if you're listening to this on Spotify or any of those other wonderful sites where linkage is a little harder, you can check out fierceferrets.com. We do a lot of cool stuff. We've got, if you enjoy Drunk Fandom, you can listen to episodes early by subscribing. We've got some coolio links there to our Patreon or our Twitch, whichever, doesn't matter. We appreciate all the support, because all the content we make is free. There's other free goodies on that website. Check it out. A lot of great people, great things. And then, of course, check out Sandwichmaster. Was our drunk guest.
And also check out, didn't even mention it because she's so sweet and humble, Backclam makes incredible art. I'm not even kidding. If you ever watch my stream, I literally just changed my setup. I have just a few pieces of framed art. No shit, I have 4 that are pieces of art that aren't pictures. And 3 of those 4, one of them is Backclam's print that she did of Majora's Mask. It's wonderful. Another one is a print of their little ferrets playing tabletop games in a little clubhouse that has so many great Easter eggs. And then the other one is actually fan art that I created because I think that they're so cool that I can't help myself. And that's 3 out of the 4 pieces of framed art that I have. So go check out how wonderful Backclam is, not only as a human, but as an artist. And just so good to work with. And the quality of the art is literally so good. I love it. I love it so much. I look at it every day and it makes my heart happy. And
I mean, when I call Sandwich
to talk to you guys because you guys are so cool.
You're cool. Stop it. All right. So with that, thank you all so much for tuning in, loyal listeners. We'll see you in the next one. We release the season all at once, so either you're a sub and you're listening to this as it comes out, or public and you're listening to the whole, you're binging it because you like us so much. Wink, please listen.
Yes.
All right. Have a great night or day or whatever time it is, and remember, stay salty. Oh, and stay safe. Stay safe and stay salty.
And 6 feet away. Save salty 6 feet away. The new SSS.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching our video. Now to give a special shout out to our sponsor tier patrons. Neji Kuma, we appreciate all the support you give to us, you keep the channel growing and the content flowing. If you want to be alerted to when we post a new video, make sure to ding that bell next to the subscribe button. If you like the content you see here, then consider tossing us a follow on twitch.tv/fierceferrets.
And if you're really feeling the ferrety love, please consider supporting our work at patreon.com/fierceferrets. We don't make any money here on YouTube, so we rely on the generosity of our Twitch and Patreon subs, listed in these credits here, to bring more quality entertainment to you. And you'll get some great rewards for helping out. Thanks again, friends!
And we'll see you next video.